Don't you hate wrestling with predictability? The garbage man, the sexy boy, boring ass TV? How did I get to work in here? Somebody tell me, please. The WWF is confusing to me. With Vince as mean as you've ever seen. I told old Patterson I'm done here in June. When a sudden voice inside me whispered, Vinny, don't sell your dream so soon. And everywhere I look, there's a Ted with a hand to hold on to. And everywhere I look, there's a place and a promotion who needs you. And it's there you'll book when you're lost out there and you're all alone. And WCW's waiting to carry you home. It's there you'll book. And it's there I'll book. A doobity-ba-ba-ba, headed to Atlanta and listen to this podcast. It's all right, even though it fucking makes fun of everything I've ever done. Backbone Wrestling Network, welcome back to episode 47 of Are You Smarter Than Vince Russo's WCW? I'm Scott Shiflett. Joining me as always is Logan Crossland. Logan, how are you doing today?
I am battling the seasonal lurgy for about the 50th time because the weather and Mother Nature can't decide what she wants to do. So I'm not hating that it's not super hot yet because it's May, obviously. But I really wish it would either decide to be cold or decide to be warm or hot or whatever. But Mother Nature is fucking up my throat and head once again. So we'll see if we can break away from this eventually.
Probably not, Logan, because it's where I live. I think the highest it's been was like 78 degrees. And last week, when it was the first week of May, I was like wearing sweatpants at one point because I was cold. So it's just absurd.
Definitely wore sweatpants at one point in the last few weeks, and I never thought I was going to bring the sweatpants back out this year until obviously December-ish.
Yeah. So, but hey, global warming's not real, Logan. But speaking of May, may we go back in May? That too. May we go back in time to the final last show of May 2000, Logan. We're finally here. May 31st, 2000, Thunder. The show kicks off. We see Goldberg's return and all the world title nonsense that we talked about on last episode. How the title went from Kevin Nash giving it to Ric Flair losing it to Jeff Jarrett on the same night. We see the Thunder intro. Tony talks about Jeff being the world champ and Goldberg coming back, which they literally had just shown in video form. I don't know why they had to bring it up again, but what? Okay. We are in Boise, Idaho tonight. And before we start off, Logan, something that I had just ever read about in the death of WCW and like a Meltzer note, we're about to see. And started off hot. This was probably my favorite thing of the show right here. And it sucks that it's
absolutely
literally at the start of the show. But is it anyone in the main event? No. Shocking right here. But it's someone who has been stuck in a feud with the artist formerly known Taft Cappy. But I guess Tammy might have been fired, Logan, because she has not been here the past 2 shows now. So we'll have to see if she ever makes a return. But it's Chris Candido. He comes out and he's dressed like Terry Funk. He throws a chair in the ring. He gets on the mic and says he's all alone tonight because he was given something to do. And he says he finally found a boss with some smarts and he's never had that before. And they told him to take out Terry Funk and bring the hardcore title to Eric Bischoff. And he tells Funk to bring his old wrinkle ass out here and he's going to kick it. And so out comes Terry Funk. So this first match tonight, hardcore match, Terry Funk versus Chris Candido. Funk's still walking with entrance ramp, and Chris charges him, but Funk backdrops him. Tony once again brings up, this is going to be an ongoing thing tonight, that Eric and Russo meeting in California a couple weeks ago when Shane was put in charge of Thunder, and he says that it will change the face of wrestling and sports entertainment. That's what they say a lot tonight. They battle backstage, and with the WCW moment, Logan, there's no camera back there. So the camera is just on the announcers. So they're like just bullshitting for a little bit. And then Tony's like, oh, we finally got a camera backstage. And once we get backstage, we see them battling, like just, the wall brawling hardcore match that WCW is known for, with like trash cans and that are just full with like newspapers and like random other assortment of trash, like 2-liter bottles and stuff. And then there's a truck bed outside the arena, and Terry Funk throws him in it, and he gets in the trunk. It takes off, and we see the ref just chasing after the truck. We get back. We go back to Tony, and Tony says we are dispatching a camera crew. The camera crew finds them, and luck may have it, Logan, the truck parks in the parking lot where the camera crew was.
Who could have seen it coming?
It's amazing the luck that this camera crew had. But they drive him to horse stalls, which once they did this, I knew exactly where it was going. Funk stops the truck and he gets out, but Chris hits him with a trash can that was just conveniently in the back of this pickup truck, which, Logan, I don't know about you, but I always keep trash cans in the back of my cars, so you never know who might attack. But they battle near the stables. Chris throws Funk on a wrestling table that's just conveniently there, and then throws him over some hay bales. Chris dunks Terry in the trough, and then there's manure out there, and Chris puts Terry face first in the manure. Chris opens up the stable, and they fight in the stable where this horse looks fucking terrified. Like, I don't know what the hell they're thinking. You can literally see the horse like looking back, scared. While this happens, Funk pile drives Chris in the stable, and the horse starts to kick both men. They both get the hell out of there. Like, Tony is actively laughing. He's like, this is the biggest high spot of the match, was when that horse was kicked both men, which
that would have scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, exactly. So then they get out of there, and Chris puts Funk on the table, and he's like choking him with a rope that he has, and he starts climbing up the where the stable is. Funk pulls Chris off the stables, and he goes through the table that was set up. Then the ref comes, and Funk decides to take him out, but Chris Candido's still down. Funk then grabs water, and he dumps water all on the ref. This wakes up the ref. Funk pins Chris, and he wins. The show could have ended right here, Logan. It would have been the best Thunder of all time if it involves a horse kicking the shit out of both of them. But just an amazing opening segment and opening match. Like, Terry Funk actually wins this time instead of having his opponent fall on the proverbial banana peel. He actually gets the win here. So good on Terry Funk. But Terry Funk being a thorn in the side of the New Blood, I did not still see going, considering we're starting to get people kicked out of the New Blood, as we'll see later tonight.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see Terry Funk getting a big spot in this storyline for sure. Candido looks like Funk's son with the matching pants on in this match, so they look like they're like father and son beating the shit out of each other. Yeah, Funk immediately brawls with him in the entranceway, and awful chair shots. I enjoyed most of the rest of this match, other than the very weak and stutter step chair shots that he seemed to completely be doing. Yeah, I love the point when it just goes to the commentary table, because they don't have cameras following the truck, but they do have cameras conveniently at the place where they end up. I like that Candido pops out of the truck bed, like you said, and smacks Funk with the trash can because that was there for some reason. Um, and then he just throws him into everything and anything that could, be thrown into. They imply that he smashes his face into some either horse shit or cow shit at some point. Um, the pile driver in the horse stable was insane, and the horse actually kicking Candido, like I said, would have, despite the fact that I'm not afraid of anything, would have scared the shit out of me because I would have been like, oh fuck, I didn't think this thing was actually going to kick at us. And then yeah, he smashes the ref for some reason with the trash can, only to revive him like seconds later. So Funk wasn't thinking exactly on his feet. So, but definitely one of the more entertaining, if not the best, hardcore match segment, whatever you want to call it, that we've had so far. So let these two do this every week as long as they want to.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is like the most fun I've had in a hardcore match with WCW, except since Brian Knobs got thrown off the
Oh, with the scaffolding.
yeah, the scaffolding, which was awesome.
And to answer the Tammy question, I don't think she's officially gone. I believe they both leave here in the next few weeks. So Candido will also not be long for this world.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, sadly, good riddance to both. I wasn't really impressed with them on this run, but we'll wait to see how many more appearances we get.
Yeah.
So then we cut backstage to Russo talking to Eric Bischoff on the phone. In walks Kat, and Russo gets up and says, "Take my seat." Russo says that Eric is away tonight, and Russo then puts Kat in charge of Thunder tonight as he has a lot of Ric Flair nonsense to deal with. A limo pulls up, and it's Ric Flair and his family, which they've already written out Ashley, apparently, because it's just Reed and Mom Beth. So get a commercial break, and we see a paparazzi show up again, and it's for Kimberly. And something that I did make her laugh, she puts her gum in a cameraman's hand that's taking pictures of her, and then she poses for pictures. We once again we see the Flair drama from Monday, where he got the world title and said no, but then his fan was kidnapped when he lost the title that I spoke about earlier. I don't know why they had to recap it 15 minutes into the show, but here we are. Flair comes out. And there's a bunch of wooing in the crowd. And Rick asks if Russo hears them in Boise, Idaho. Rick says he drove in here tonight a half-beaten man, telling him, said he was going to give a sad story, but he heard the fans cheering tonight and he can't be sad. Flair talks about all the shit that they've done to him, but to beat him on Monday, which was a bunch of stuff. Flair says Russo's was the first time in 20 years that he had his family in the business. Rick says, "You embarrassed me in front of them last night." Rick says his wife has seen it all. Rick says, "We only just started." Says at Great American Bash, "David, you have a chance to be something in this business because your name is Flair, but now you got to wrestle me." Flair does a strut and says he's going to kick his 21-year-old ass like he should have done 10 years ago. That's child abuse, Flair. That's child abuse. Rick says, "Here's the deal, Boise, because Russo is such a man. Rick has asked his family to be fans as well, and he wants that skinny New York ass to wrestle him tonight." This brings out Russo, David Flair, and all of R&B security. They come to the ring. Russo makes sure to put security around him on both sides so he can't be attacked. Rick tells him to come on and not stop walking now. They finally get in the ring, and like Flair keeps faking going after them to send security scaring. Russo gets on the mic and says, "Cool it, Rick," and says, "First of all, I'm wearing sunglasses out here because God forbid my boys in the Bronx knew that I'm in Boise tonight. Second of all, says you're welcome for giving the champ and witch back," which makes Flair go after R&B security again, and he stopped and he says, "Kiss my ass." Russo says, "Third of all, I've got a cold and I'm still here." And he says, "You had a brain aneurysm and you missed a week of work." Rick calls Vince a mark for him and he says, "You chicken shit with no balls from New York." Rick says David is worse than Russo, says he's going to smack him around in Baltimore. Russo says, "First off, you're drooling." And Russo says he's here to talk to Beth. We get loud pussy chants directed at Russo. Russo says, "Beth, you see the shirt? It's John Lennon, who lived in New York." He says John Lennon wrote a song called Imagine. He says, Beth, I want you to imagine this. At Great American Bash, David Flair defeats Ric Flair. Ric Flair has to retire. Do you know what that means, Beth? That means no more gravy train, no more checks, no more limos, no more jewelry. And says that's the only reason why she married Rick was for the money. And asks, how are you going to live on Rick's Social Security? After the Great American Bash, Rick starts punching some of R&B security. Russo says Beth didn't marry Rick for Space Mountain. Russo says that he's heard that Rocket hasn't been off the launch pad for years. Russo said the floor is now yours. Flair gets back and says, Russo, you came out here tonight and everyone's asked to wrestle me. He says, Little Italy can't do anything that Space Mountain does. Russo says, you want to wrestle? And R&B security holds back Flair again as he charged. Russo says, hold on. And says, Flair, hold this. Says, you want to wrestle? Flair says, Flair, you want to see me bleed? Russo says, we will wrestle my way. Says it'll be father and son against father and son tonight. Flair asks if he wants to wrestle, and Reed says, of course. Rick attacks R&B security, but they overwhelm him quickly. Russo and David attack Rick, and they're holding back Reed and Beth as the segment ends. Logan, this was a lot of shit right here that happened, but apparently our main event tonight is father and son versus father and son. It definitely seems like going to Great American Bash, and as we'll see later, they have it roles reversed. It should be Flair versus Russo at Great American Bash with David as the second. That's what they've been doing. Because I'm pretty sure David Flair and Ric Flair are the same amount of wrestling ability, which is fucking zero.
No, absolutely, yeah. It's going to be as crappy as a match as it's going to be either way. So, yeah, I think they should have done something where, like, he has to beat David on the way to facing Russo at Great American Bash, and he pulls it off somehow, despite the fact that Russo would throw every wrench in the plan or something like that. That's probably the way they should have gone. Because we do get a good bit of David and Rick in the tag team match later, so it kind of
it's horrible,
and it's not good. It's definitely not good, but we do get a little bit of a preview of that. So they kind of somewhat give it away, but we'll see if they can get a little bit better on a bigger stage. If Rick can pull something out of him in a singles match, and based on something we see later, we might see Rick versus Russo in the long run anyway. So, but I definitely agree with you. I think they should have built towards a Russo and Flair match and not so much a David and Rick match. I'm not saying they shouldn't have it at some point, but it just, like in this situation, it shouldn't be the end all be all that it's being, kind of presented as. But yeah, a long segment just to get to a tag team match with a 12-year-old in it. So we'll see how much of a disaster that is.
I can't believe it. I was like, oh, okay, but yeah, it's just interesting. Like, this writing is all ass backwards. Like, you're supposed to go for the pay-per-view, not for the rating. But hey, this is why this company's out of business in 10 months, Logan.
I promise I don't mean this as a hateful joke, but it's kind of funny to see. Well, funny is the wrong word too, but it's kind of weird to see that Reed had more matches as a 12-year-old as he did when he was actually training to be a wrestler.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Because I think it's the second. I think this is the second match that he would have been in at this point. So
yep, correct. Yes. So we go to the back, and Kat's on the phone and says, "Get me something," to whoever's on the phone. And then we pan out and we see that Awesome is there, and Kat says, "You're still standing after that ass whooping you took the other night? You a strong man." Mike Awesome says that he is. And then Kimberly walks in and asks where Eric is. She said her food isn't right and bitches some more. Kat says, "I'm the boss," and Kimberly says she has had a lot of issues today, and she needs TV time. Kat says he will take care of you, pointing to Mike Awesome. She said that she wants personal security and she doesn't want it to be R&B security because they suck. Kat's looking at her boobs as she's talking and says, "Oh, they will. They won't suck." And then Kat says that Mike will be security. She asks how good he is at a foot massage, and he says good, and they leave, I guess, to bang. Kat says, "Get the hell out of my office," after he shuts the door. So just a weird segment. It's so much. They could have went so much easier, Logan, putting Awesome and Kimberly together instead of like this weird like way of like, oh, you need security. You need security. How you feel about foot massages? We both hate DDP. We want to ruin his life. That's how you put them together. Not this bullshit way. It's ass backwards. You're on mute.
That they have a very common enemy at this point, so it would have been very easy for them to just make this a DDP thing. Obviously, they're too stupid and didn't go that way. So, but yeah, they had to make it creepy and weird. And I think we'll see in a future segment why Mr. Awesome isn't a more pushed character and why he didn't have more success in this run when we get to that later. And we'll further push along the idea that Kim should never appear on wrestling television again.
She's not too long for this world either, right?
I don't think so. But she's horrendous in that segment later. We'll talk about it when we get to it.
Kim is the perfect seen and should not be heard woman.
Yeah. You shouldn't say that. No, that's me. I'm just kidding.
I know that feels real sexist. I feel the same about Mike Awesome. He should be a silent killer instead of talking. So we take a commercial break and then we come back and we are we're in Kat's office again. Kidman and Tori are talking. Kat walks and says, "What the hell are you doing? This is my office." I will say, Tori looks amazing, guys. Just my God, looks amazing. But Kidman says, "I'm the kid," and Kat says, "I'm the cat." Get out of my chair.
What a great line.
Yeah, Kidman's like, "I'm the kid," and Kat says, "Well, I'm the cat. Get out of my chair." And I was just like, amazing. And of course, Kidman gets up and like sits beside Tori. He's mad about Tori's skirt, and Kat says, "It looks good to me." Like this cat's just fucking hitting home run after home run tonight, Logan. I'm not even like doing it justice with how entertaining he's been. But we see they start talking about the issues that they're having with Horace Hogan. And sorry, my phone messed up with my notes. Yeah. So Kat says, "You look good to me." Kidman is mad about Horace being the special guest ref, which he should take that up with Eric. And he says Eric is dumb. Kat says, "Eric is my best friend and I'll kick your ass." Kidman says, "You got this position by kissing ass, not kicking ass." Which is actually a good line from Kidman. Kidman says he wants to have a match with that idiot Sting and fathead Horace. Tori takes up for Horace. Kat says, "To get you out of my hair, I'll make the match." So it sounds like it's a three-way dance here, but it's actually a handicap match, as we'll see later. But then we were literally just talking about how bad this segment is, and thank God we're getting it out of the way now. Out comes Kimberly and Mike Awesome. He's carrying a table, which wasn't he the ambulance guy? I digress. Awesome says, "DDP, you hit me on Monday with a chair twice, and then you and G.I. Bro put me through a table. Then you hit me with a diamond cutter, and then Karl Malone hit me with a diamond cutter." He's just like, "But I'm still standing." He says, "A Great American Bash, you'll have no friends," and said his only friend's in the hospital right now. Says he's going to break every bone in DDP's miserable old ass. Kimberly then gets on the mic and says, "You can welcome me with your own thoughts," and they boo her. She says she gets a lot of fan mail asking me questions like, "What do you do with your hair? What's your favorite restaurant?" And she asks, like, "Are the people in Boise that ugly?" And she's like, "Before I was like, I don't know, but now I know that they're ugly." Kim says, "Where did you get that outfit, TJ Maxx?" We get loud slut chants. She says, "One guy looks like her ex," and says, "Speaking of DDP, he's in jail where he belongs." Kim says guys are excited about the split because guys wanted to be near her, smell her, and feel her. And then she goes off and she's like, "Will you be able to soon?" And says they aren't real, but they're fabulous. And they're supposed to be talking about her shoes, but like she's obviously talking about her boobs. It was just real bad. Then a quote unquote fan runs in. Mike Awesome takes him out and he power bombs him through the table. She says she just wasted her time on people, and Kim says they're leaving. Kim and Mike Awesome walk off. This is a god awful segment, Logan. Both of these people should not be talking on the mic, or if they do, it should be fucking pre-tape segments. This was, as Sean Kidd said, awful.
Yeah, this went way too long. these are two people, like you said, that should never have a microphone in their hand. Like they almost need each other to be better. But both of them suck at talking. Mike Awesome's just in a bad situation that he should have a manager of some sort. Kim just shouldn't be on TV at this point. And it's just a bad segment all around. They gave it way too much time, and it was just something that uh, this should never have aired on television.
Yep, it was real bad, and it made me want to see less of these people, which is impressive, Logan. I think the bloom might be off the rose with us with Mike Awesome, but
We spilled some
I'll get it later. I'm sorry. What happened?
no, it's fine. I'm just saying the bloom might be off the rose with Mike Awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's definitely an awesome wrestler and can be really good in the ring and have some really good stuff with guys if he's in there. Guys that can work with him really well. He's definitely good in the ring, but the microphone stuff just is kind of I think the thing that held him back all the years.
Yeah, and he's already hurt a couple wrestlers too. So me and you are like the last two people that will hold on to like this person's still got a chance. And if we're starting to be like, that's not good for you, buddy. But then we go backstage and we see Rick and Reed talking. Reed says he'll try his hardest, and Rick says, "I'm proud of you," which is something he probably never said to David. We get a commercial break and we go back to the cat's office. And the franchise is in there, and the cat says it's the cat show, and he says he's going to reward the franchise. He says that the franchise is getting a shot at Jeff Jarrett for the world title. Franchise says he's happy, and Cat tells him to go get the title. And then we see Horace and Kidman they come out with Tori. We see highlights of Monday and when it was Sting versus Kidman and how Vampiro helped Kidman win, and then the burning the red and yellow of Hulk Hogan's clothes. Sting's out next. So match 2, Horace and Kidman versus Sting. As Horace and Kidman are in the ring, Sting rushes the ring and takes out both with a diving clothesline. Sting dropkicks Horace and clotheslines Kidman out of the ring. Sting throws Kidman into the guardrail, but then Horace gets up and starts beating on Sting. They both beat down Sting outside of the ring. They roll him in the ring. Kidman does the Hulk taunt as Horace is beating down Sting. Horace slams Sting, and then Kidman does the leg drop. This gets a 1 count. They hit a double suplex on Sting. Kidman Irish whip Sting, but Sting is able to come off the ropes, hit a face buster. He puts Kidman in Scorpion Deathlock, but Horace breaks it up. Then they start beating down Sting with kicks. Horace goes to pin Sting, but Kidman pulls him off. Tori then gets on the ring apron to yell at both to stop fighting. Horace hits Sting with the Death Valley Driver, and he pins him again, but Kidman once again pulls him off, and he tells Horace to get out of the ring. Kidman is kicking Sting as Horace brings a table into the ring. He stacks it against the ropes in a weird way that we've never seen before. Kidman was holding Sting, and Horace went to clothesline Sting, but of course Sting ducks, and Kidman hits Horace. Sting punches both men, and then he sets them up in opposite corners, hits the Stinger Splash. Sting throws Kidman, which had set up as a table, like how the table is set up, through the table on the ramp, and it just fucking breaks like in half, and Kidman just hits the ground on the ramp. Looks real rough. Sting throws Horace onto the ramp as well, and then sets him up in front of like the sort of broken table that's on both sides of the ring now. Sting then runs the whole ramp and dives onto both men and sort of kind of kills Kidman with that move. Sting then drags Kidman into the ring and puts the Scorpion Deathlock on him, and Kidman tap. Sting celebrates, and after the match, Kidman isn't happy with Horace, and Tori gets in between them. They start pushing each other and yelling at each other, and then push each other again. I guess Mike also missed his cue, and he comes down and breaks them up. So, Logan, that throw through the table that Sting did to Kidman looked like it was fucking painful.
Oh, yeah. And, there was a spot right after that where Horace gets, thrown over it a little bit, but he kind of lands on top of it, and it kind of looks like part of it could have, stabbed him in the stomach and been real bad. I think they got lucky that nothing did happen, but it very much looked like it could have been a very brutal and painful injury during all that. But yeah, I thought the match started with that awesome dive off the from the ramp to the ring that Sting did last week. I thought that was a great way to start. Of course, in this match, Horace and Kidman try to work together, and then like the punch goes awry and hits Kidman in the face, and that's where it all flips around. Yeah, the table spot with Kidman was sick. Like I said, the one after that with Horace could have been bad. I like the double stinger splash or crossbody, whatever you want to call it, on the ramp. I thought that was a pretty good little spot there as well. And yeah, Kidman gets completely bitched out and ends up tapping to the Scorpion Deathlock, of course. And then, yeah, Awesome's back out to kind of play Peacemaker after the match. So, again, not using him in a physical sense. So, probably not using him at his best.
Horace should have lost. Like, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Why are we?
I mean, Kidman at this point has lost every week in any match that he's been in, or he's very much snuck it out. So he's toast. There's no saving him at this point.
Yeah,
literally none.
Jesus Christ! Like, what are we doing? It's just awful. But I feel bad for Kidman. Like, I mean, not too bad. He's banging Tori right now, so I can't, fuck him. But yeah. But like professionally, horrible. Personally, doing amazing. Can't top it. But get a Goldberg hype video as he'll be facing Tank Abbott on Monday Night Nitro this Monday in Atlanta. Get a commercial break, and Tank and Rick Steiner are with Mean Gene. Mean Gene says Tank and Rick will face Scott Steiner and Kevin Nash tonight, and Tank has Goldberg on Monday. Tank says on Monday all hell will break loose. Tank says he'll bash Goldberg's brains in, and tonight it will start with Scott and Kevin. Rick says he's the baddest man walking the planet, and he says if Nash Steiner, we will chew you up and spit you out, and says if you don't like me, bite me, and if you want some, come get some. Then we see David and Russo talking. Jeff walks up and asks what the hell's going on. Russo says he has a match tonight. Jeff is bitching about Cat booking a match with Franchise. Jeff asks if Russo's lost his mind, and Russo just says, trust me. Vince then turns to David and says, take care of your father, and I'll take care of the 12-year-old. I don't know why, Logan, but that popped me to no end because, he's just like, take care of the 12-year-old. I need JT to say, I'll take care of the 12-year-old because it just killed me. But we have then Scott Steiner and Nash show up. They're in this Suburban, and both of the girls are sitting on their laps. So one of the girls was sitting on Nash's lap while he was driving, and the other was sitting on Scott's. Just too much swag right there, safe. Logan. But not safe at all. But you know what? Everyone had a good ride. All four of them. Yeah, so, guys, there are so many backstage segments and everything that happens. This is just probably somehow one of the backstage segment happy shows we've ever had, but not that many different jump cuts. So you'll see how many different things happen later. It's kind of low, but it's just so many different stuff happening here. So we get a commercial break and we come back. We see Rufus and Norman walking around in a neighborhood. Norman says how they can't get any jobs, which if I saw Rufus walking around my neighborhood, I'm calling 911 to be like, hey, there's a fucking pervert here in my neighborhood. They said how they try to do babysitting and wash cars and lawn work, and none of it panned out. And then they see a bunch of kids running around, and they go towards kids' backyard wrestling. Where the fuck are these kids' parents to call the cops? And then when that comes back, Mike Tenay gives a PSA that definitely came from legal, where it's you should not be a backyard wrestler. Do not do it. Leave it to the professionals. And they say that every time after because we get more of these segments. And we see Cat on the phone, and he says he's running the show, and it's a hell of a show that he's put on so far. Jeff Jarrett's music hits. He comes out. Franchise is out next, and he looks like he's ready for the fight. We see highlights of the Franchise losing new blood over the past couple weeks, with the Filthy Animals 2 weeks ago, and then his issues with the Wall, walking out on him, and then the Wall just whooping his ass the past couple weeks. It's all it's been, really. But this is match 3, Jeff Jarrett versus Shane Douglas for the World Heavyweight title. Franchise has the mic and is about to start talking, but Jeff attacks him. Shane hits Jeff with the microphone and beats on him. Then Shane throws Jeff into the ropes, but Shane eats a boot because he bent down to throw him over his back. Jeff then gets on the middle rope and he comes off the axe handle, but Shane catches him, hits an atomic drop. Shane then clotheslines Jeff over the top rope, and Cat comes out clapping. Shane screams at him and says, "What are you doing here?" This allows Jeff to take advantage, and he knocks him to the entrance ramp. Jeff grabs a scarf from the Cat and chokes Shane with it. Jeff throws Shane in the ring and keeps choking him with the scarf. Then he hits Shane in the windpipe. The ref finally takes the scarf from Jeff. And then Shane ducks a clothesline and hits like a quick Randy Orton, like short power slam. That's the only way I can think of it. What's the correct terminology for that?
Like a twisting power slam, like the Randy Orton type power slam.
Yeah, that's
just a
so like a Randy Orton-esque power slam. Yeah,
maybe like a
power
snap power slam. Maybe the correct term, I guess.
Yes. So he hits a snap power slam. If you guys keep a score at home, this gets a 2 count. Shane picks up Jeff and sends him in the ropes, but Jeff reverses an Irish whip and he dropped him with the hip toss. But Shane reversed it and gets a backslide for 2. The Cat gets on the ring apron and he starts yelling at the ref. The ref shoves the Cat. The Cat shoves the ref and ref shoves the Cat back. While this is happening, Shane hits Jeff with the Pittsburgh plunge and has the 3. But when the ref's about to count 3, the Cat literally throws a chair at the ref and just fucking hits him. Then Shane picks up the chair and is about to hit Jeff, but Cat hits his beeliner, kick into Shane with the chair in the hand. Jeff picks up Shane, hits the stroke, and it matches over. Jeff celebrates after the match. This should have been a match where Jeff won cleanly. We don't have to see like someone holding the chair up like Hogan did on Monday just to get over the feeliner, which he has to do. Like it's like a rolling kick, what he does. So I was like, we didn't need that. Like, just have the Cat like just cost him the match, you know? Like by throwing the chair in and breaking up the count.
Yeah, this is a match that just shouldn't have happened, honestly. It does nothing for franchise. Franchise gains nothing by being seemingly somewhat kicked out of the new blood. Like he kind of belongs with that group. I think he benefits better from being in it than out of it. He's not a character that people are going to cheer for to like succeed against the new blood. I don't think he's better as a heel, so he probably is better off in this group. So I mean, I don't think they definitely quote unquote kick him out here, but it certainly seems like he's on the outs and can't trust anybody anymore. So, but it's just it's all a ruse. It's all a the Cat kind of wanted to give his buddy a title match, but then he hears from the higher ups and obviously they change his mind. So, just a match that probably shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, real bad.
And doesn't, nobody wants to cheer for Jarrett. Nobody wants to particularly cheer for franchise. So it's probably just something that shouldn't happen.
No. So we get a commercial break, and then we have, for some reason, like they were like filling for time for this episode, obviously, guys. I don't know. They could have had motherfuckers wrestle on the show, but for some reason on the back half of the show, we get 2 different interviews. And the first one is Mike Tenay's interview with DDP today. And Tenay says that DDP isn't in jail and that Kimberly lied. Tenay says that DDP's life in the past few months have been hell because of Eric Bischoff. DDP says they became friends and neighbors, but DDP says, I guess we're not friends. DDP says Eric being his friend made him work 5 times harder. Said he made himself in spite of Eric. DDP speculates that Eric was bitter about being forced to leave WCW last September. DDP says he made calls and Eric never picked up or returned any of his calls. Then today shifts over to Kimberly, and Tenay asks, what do you think she's thinking? DDP asks if she's even thinking, which after that promo tonight, I don't think she can think. DDP said he was blindsided by the force. He insinuates Eric Bischoff who caused this. DDP says he still loves Kimberly. He still loves the chick she was with before, not who she is now. They talk about the Slamber rematch, and Tenay says that David Arquette blames DDP for him stop being a wrestler. DDP says it was a fluke he was a champion. He says that Eric twisted David against DDP as well. They talk about the Canyon bump. DDP says you don't call Awesome a career killer, and that because Canyon will walk in, will wrestle again. And DDP says the Great American Bash Austin will end up in the ambulance. And then Tenay starts listing all the problems that DDP's had with all his friends, and he asks if DDP is the problem. DDP gets pissed and walks off this set as Tenay makes the Tenay face. You know the Tenay face, Logan. You've seen it many a time.
This was like extra Tenay face. So yeah, like he does the little thing where he purses his lips like Donald Trump does, and just gets the real big bug eyes, and is like a disapproving dad, pretty much. But yeah, Paige kind of seems like a cunt there at the end. Where I mean, I don't think I would have answered it either, but he does come off as kind of a, you know, yeah, not a loser, but kind of just like, oh, it couldn't possibly be my fault, but which it's not. I'm not saying it is, but he just like, I don't know that was the most face way to react to that situation, but I don't know that this really accomplished much more than we really needed it, or anything that we needed it to, or anything like that. It's not going to get you any more excited for the awesome DDP match at the pay-per-view. So, I mean, they're just trying to get more into his psyche. Obviously, they're just trying to somewhat piss him off a little bit. But yeah, this didn't make me any more excited for that match or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, if all these people hate DDP, maybe he is the problem. Have we thought about that? I'm the problem.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yep. It's me. Hi.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I really love that you got that reference.
Yeah.
So
I do have a wife that is a huge fan. So I was.
Yes. Well, that's one of my favorite songs of hers. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs of hers. But anyway, let's go back to the year 2000, where no one would know what we're talking about. And Mean Gene is with the Cat, Sean O'Hare, Sean Stasiak, and Chuck Palumbo. Cat says Chronic is breaking all the rules and says tonight he's going to enforce the DQ rule. If Chronic is DQ'd, then Sean and Chuck will win the tag titles. Shane runs in and grabs Cat by the collar and asks, why did he do it? Chuck and Sean grab Shane, and Cat says it was an order, and Shane says, whose order was it, you son of a bitch? And then they cut away to a clip of his interview with Eric Bischoff that they'll be having later. When we have a commercial break, and then when we come back, we see Kevin and Scott working out with the Freaks, which is just amazing. Like, they're both tag teaming these hoes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So match 4, which was started on Monday, and now we're here now, is Chronic versus Sean Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo. If Chronic are DQ'd, then they lose the tag titles. Both teams are out. All 4 start fighting, and Chronic clears the ring. Brian Adams and Sean start off. Sean ducks a punch and starts kicking Brian. Brian reverses an Irish whip and punches Sean. He then sends him to the ropes and punches him. Then hits a gorilla press slam. This gets a 2 count from him. We get a tag to Brian Clark, and they hit a double shoulder block. Clark sends Sean into the ropes, but Sean kicks Clark and tags to Chuck. But when Chuck comes in, he automatically gets hit by Clark and hits a double underhook suplex and gets a 2. Chuck then hits a standing side kick that gets a 1 count. Chuck punches Clark and then reverses an Irish whip, and Clark hits a tilt-a-whirl slam. We get a tag to Adams, who hits a full Nelson slam, and Sean breaks up the pin here because that might have been a 3 count. Clark ran the ropes, but Sean needed Clark on the ropes, and this allows Chuck to hit a DDT that gets a 2 count. We get both men down. We get a tag to Sean, and he punches Brian and hits a back elbow. This gets 2. Adams ducks a clothesline and hits the worst pile driver ever. It's really bad. It's pretty impressive how bad this pile driver was, Logan. Like, none of these people should ever wrestle after that pile driver. That's how bad it was. We get a tag to Clark, and all 4 in the ring. Chronic, of course, beats down both men. Palumbo is thrown onto the entrance ramp. They hit the high times on Sean. Clark goes in to pin Sean, but Palumbo runs in with the Lex Flexor. Adams takes it from him and hits him. The ref stopped the count to see this happen and calls for the DQ. The ref says the new tag champs are Sean Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo, as Chronic was DQ'd. The Chronic hits high times on Billy Silverman. Not a good match. It was basically the Chronic just hogging all the offense, kind of making these guys look like jabronis, which is something we may see, Logan, from what I've read for the rest of this run of like Chronic just kind of being dickheads when they never drew anything in the wrestling business. Towards these like other wrestlers and stuff, taking advantage of the rookies and everything, and filthy animals later on. So it's something to watch out for. But yeah, this and it made the ref look dumb because like he literally like stopped, like their timing was off. Like my timing that I described this ending was better than the actual timing.
Oh yeah, this is like a major ref faux pas, and it made me very angry, as you know that often does when stuff like that happens. He is like inches away from counting to three, and then just decides to stop and be like, "Oh, there's something illegal about to happen. Let me go watch that," instead of counting the pinfall that I easily could have counted. So yeah, big ref fuck up here. I don't know if they have named Stasiak and Palumbo yet, but they call them the Perfect and the Event separately. They do become the Perfect Event as a tag team. So that's who I have them down as in my notes because I know that they eventually get that name. But they made sure to that I think Stasiak's the perfect one. I think that's what he's calling himself. And apparently Palumbo's nickname is the Event, so they'll become Perfect Event at some point. I thought the gorilla press that Adams hits early in the match on Stasiak, where he drops him on his knee, was disgusting. The ref shit that I already pointed out is terrible. We have new champs because obviously Cat made the DQ rule earlier. But I did like seeing them hit high times on the ref. But yeah, they do dominate the match. If that is a kind of situation that they find themselves in regularly, I definitely could believe that. But yeah, they absolutely do like at least 90% of the offense in this match, and it's not all that long. So they dominate for most of the however long it went.
Yeah, it was bad. Like I kind of hate it. But we see the backyard wrestling again, and like Norman and Ralphus walk up, and Norman asks, "Do you know who I am?" And the kid says, "Yeah, you're Booker T," which made me laugh. Logan, it was just amazing. Kid's like, "Yeah, you're Booker-"
I may have made a similar mistake on the cross up this morning. So,
which I corrected you on immediately. By the way,
yes. And I knew you would. I knew I wasn't getting that one past you. So.
Oh hell no! I was listening on the way to work. Also, listen to the cross up every Monday here on the Backbone. It's how I catch up on Impact, AEW, which if I don't watch it every week, but I really want to because it's good. But it's how I catch up, and NXT, which I never watch unless it's a pay per view. So check it out. No problem. Norman tells the kids you can get hurt doing this, but he's a pro, so he's gonna teach everyone how to wrestle. And he asks who the champ is and challenges him. Norman teaches amateur wrestling moves at first. I'm like, what are we doing? But then Norman gets the kid in the pinning situation and makes Ralphus count. He takes the belt and the kids chase after him. And then once again, they say that don't do backyard wrestling. So it was just weird PSA here. But I guess Norman's backyard wrestling champion right now. Maybe the WBF with JT.
Definitely.
Yes. And then with our second interview of the night, Logan, Tony interviewed Eric yesterday. Tony says a lot has happened since April. Eric says we have taken over all of WCW. And then Tony asks about the night that Eric and Russo weren't there. Eric goes over the history of WCW and Eric Bischoff, says how he made it number one. Eric says he makes big moves and big risks and has big success. Tony asks what big meeting took place. Eric said the deal is done. As of 11 o'clock this morning, it was signed, sealed, and delivered. Lawyers have looked at it, notaries and lawyers for notaries, which he's just talking out of his ass. Eric says nothing can stop what is going to happen at the Great American Bash. Tony said that Russo went on WCW Live after Nitro and said this is the biggest thing that's ever happened in sports entertainment and wrestling. Eric says, a Great American Bash, we will change the landscape and face of sports entertainment and wrestling as you know it. Says you can't stop it. Vince McMahon can't stop it. No one can stop it. And like they're just trying to add extra hype. And the way they're hyping this up, like it almost sounds like it could be a sale of WCW, Logan.
Or it's something that could never possibly ever live up to the hype they're putting behind it.
What?
No
spoiler
chance.
alert, that's what happens, gang. But yeah, it's weird they had another interview here. They should have spaced these out. But it seems like they're really trying to hype up, like, this is the biggest thing that's ever going to happen. And
it's the biggest night in the history of our great sport.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all we're seeing. So then we see Rick and his family walking backstage. Then we see Russo and David walking backstage, get a commercial break. Match 5, David and Vince Russo versus Reed and Ric Flair. My note here is Reed is 12 years old. That's just my first note, gang, because I was just like, okay. Rick gets in the ring and attacks David. David fucks up running off the ropes and hitting a shoulder block off the jump. So we're off to a great start. David then runs the ropes again and runs into Flair chops. Rick's
great
rips
sell
Dave.
on that one.
Yeah.
He just flops. It's great.
Yeah. Rick rips David's shirt and chops him. Rick throws David into the corner and then goes after Russo, who runs away. Rick beats down David. Rick gets on the mic and screams at Russo to get in the ring. Rick says, "You can't beat me ever or Reed ever, you pissant." Rick says he'll stand on the apron for 3 minutes as Reed will wear his ass out. Rick says he'll retire if he gets in the ring beforehand. Russo says, "All right, give me 3 minutes with that little bastard." Reed and Vince Russo are in the ring. They circle each other. Russo keeps like play slapping Reed, like when like someone's like picking on someone, they just do a little smack in the face, then back away. That's what he's doing. Reed is then able to take down Russo, and the crowd goes wild. And then he takes him down again. Russo then goes and asks David for advice, but David obviously gave him shit advice because Reed takes him down again. Rick decides that the 3 minutes are up, like he's like his 3 minute warning, and he attacks Russo. David attacks Rick, and they chopped him, and then hits him with the forearm. David then hits a stalling suplex on Rick, and then he chops him. He does the strut, but then he gets up and he walks into a Rick chop. Rick chops David out of the ring, and then Rick's going after David, but Russo had dropped down and hits Rick with the Statue of Liberty statue and throws Rick back in the ring. David beats down Rick, and Reed comes in and grabs David, but David throws him off. David then throws Reed into the ropes, but Russo trips Reed. David puts the figure 4 on Reed, and Russo pins Reed. Russo gets on the mic and tells Beth to get up as she went to check on Reed. Says, "Will you believe me now, or will it be too late?" Are they really going to have Beth turn on Rick? Because that's what it fucking feels like, Logan.
I mean, why not have another completely untrained woman that happens to be a wife of a wrestler be a character on TV? It was so glowingly working with Kim, so why not try it with Beth, I guess.
Yeah.
Flair is obviously a little bit more over than DDP is, so well, maybe not. It's probably kind of even-ish, but yeah, I'm sure it'll work the second time if that's what they're trying to do. So completely being sarcastic, of course.
No, I think it might work. But yeah, that definitely feels like where they're going. Is like
her cheering
really,
didn't give me much hope. She was like, "Oh no, don't beat him, don't hurt him," stuff like that. So.
It's obvious Charlotte got all of her charisma from Rick, literally all of it, of it.
Yeah. All respect to Beth Flair, Beth, whatever her name is at this point, but she has about the personality of a wet paper towel. So,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Also wearing probably like the most 90s dress that I would assume a woman her age would wear. I don't know anything about fashion, but I do know that. Match was nothing, like just more Russo and Flair nonsense. As we talked about earlier, the main feud is Rick versus Russo, not Rick versus David. Like they put like him turn on his dad on the back burner. But Mean Gene's with Rick after the commercial break, and Rick says Russo, and he says Mean Gene says Russo keeps making Rick's life a living hell. Rick says it's going to end on Monday, and says he called Turner, and Turner approved it. And he's challenged Russo to a cage match, and he's going to make Russo bleed. So then we cut away, and out comes Cat, and they keep hyping up this Great American Bash announcement that will change sports entertainment forever. Nash comes out with Scott and the Freaks. Bobby's sucking up the Cat, and Cat gives him a raise on commentary, which is amazing. Tank Abbott comes out to Goldberg's music. Rick Steiner's with him. Cat says he's going to lead the company back to the promised land. Tank has sparklers, and so this leads to match 6, with Scott Steiner and Kevin Nash versus Tank and Rick Steiner. All 4 in the ring. They start fighting. Scott kills Tank with a belly belly, which was just amazing. Cat gets on the mic and says the winner of this match gets the world title shot at Jeff Jarrett at the Great American Bash. Scott, because they realized 11 days before the show, Logan, they don't have a world title match. Even though I thought they did at one point. I swear I thought they did. I guess not. I guess it's just what I know. Cat gets on Scott sends Rick in the ropes, and Scott does a leapfrog, but which was pretty amazing to see Scott Steiner in the year 2000 of our Lord doing a fucking leapfrog. But here we are. But Rick just kicks Scott and hit a clothesline, and then he get an elbow drop and a kick out at 2. We see Jeff Jarrett bitch in the back, says there won't be a pinfall, but there will be a DQ. Cat says, I'm not worried about him. I'm a great fighter, when the announcers were talking about it. Rick beats down Scott on the outside and throws him back in the ring. Tony and Tenay both confirm that Russo accepted the cage match. Rick is choking Scott. Rick hits Scott with an overhead suplex like he's fucking Kurt Angle, that's the best way, one of those release over the head suplex.
They were nasty too.
It was disgusting. Like, this was amazing. Better than when Rick didn't go up for Scott on that Asylum match a couple weeks ago, Logan. But we get a tag to Tank, and he punches Scott, just lays him out with a punch, and we get a tag back to Rick. And Rick does something I think heels should do more often, where he's talking trash to like the babyface guy, and he's letting Scott like crawl over and make the tag. But before he does, he just kicks Scott, which I thought was a good heel move, Logan.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looked amazing. Rick put Scott in a chin lock. Cat has given Bobby the Brain 3 raises for the way Bobby's been sucking up to him, which has been great. Nash distracts the ref, and because he's bitching about like them cheating, and this allows Tank and Rick to double team Scott. Tank levels Scott again with the 2, but gets with a punch again and just gets a 2 count. Scott's able to hit a DDT, and he finally gets the hot tag to Nash. Nash gets to the ring and takes out Rick and Tank, who, by the way, is fighting your biggest fucking babyface in 3 days. But you're jobbing him out like this. Nash clotheslines Rick out of the ring. Then Nash hits a big boot on Tank. Nash tries to get out of the ring, but Rick grabs Nash, and this so he can't go after him. Like, he hangs his nuts on the rope. Scott gets the Steiner recliner on Tank, who's fighting Goldberg in 3 days, guys. 3 to 4 days he's fighting him. But of course, Jeff Jarrett by this point has come down. He hits Scott with the guitar. Jeff says, ring the bell. Cat screams, no DQ, let the boys fight.
What a mess.
It really is. Because Cat's supposed to be a heel, but he's like turned like 25 times on this show. Cat says, I'm the boss. Rick hits Kevin with the belt, and then the woman get in the ring and they check on Scott, but Nash kicks out at 2. Jeff throws a chair to Rick, but Rick catches it, and Nash then kicks the chair into Rick's head, and Nash powerbombs Rick and stares down Jeff as the ref counts 3. The show literally ends with Nash looking at Jeff. You could tell they were tight on time, Logan. So that brings an end to another this 2000 Thunder, which is the most, I think, 2000 Thunder that we've ever thundered so far. Like, because the show was all over the place, man. But what did you think of that main event match?
Yeah, we had multiple children wrestle on this show. We had the Backyard Wrestlers, and we had Reed wrestle as well. So letting the kids wrestle on TV, it's nice to see. Yeah, this is the thunderiest thunder that ever thundered. I wonder if this is the one that Tim was at. I'm just playing. But yeah, we get the caveat that obviously the person that gets the pinfall will get the title shot. He just says the winners at first, so I was thinking like, oh, they're going to go triple threat at the pay-per-view, but I think they, tie it back to like the caveat that it's whoever gets the pinfall. You mentioned there was a belly to belly suplex that I think Scott does to Tank where he barely gets him
disgusting.
Over, and then Rick does it to Scott, I believe, like a couple of minutes later, and it's just as sick and just barely gets him over. So those were pretty devastating. Jarrett tries to be the sneaky ass little heel, and get the disqualification so he doesn't have to face anybody. But Cat, like you said, does his 5th babyface turn of the night, and then goes back heel when he gets back on commentary, and makes a no DQ, obviously. And then Jarrett stupidly just watches Nash jackknife and pins Rick because he definitely had I think he had a chair in his hand or something like that, or maybe he had the remains of the guitar. Can't remember. He had some kind of weapon in his in his hands, and Nash was staring at him, but go attack him. You obviously don't want to face him. Go attack him. I mean, I don't think you want to face Scott any more than you want to face Nash, but obviously you face Nash and Nash beat you, so go attack him. Don't let him pin. I think he would probably be able to coerce and manipulate Tank and or Rick if they were to win. So I don't know why he just stood there and watched, but
because he's an idiot.
Maybe that's his kink. Who knows?
Yeah, he's an idiot. He's just dumb.
He is not a smart man.
Yeah, this was a show, Logan. This was a show.
Yeah, as Matt Souza would say, this is a show that existed.
Yeah. He did say it was going to get a whole lot worse. I don't know if it gets better, but yeah. So going into the show, our world champ was Jeff Jarrett for the world. U.S. champ, I did see one of the freaks carrying that tonight, Scott Steiner. Tag champs, Sean Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo. Cruiserweight champ is Daphne, who's all but fucking disappeared. And the hardcore champ is still Terry Funk. Most absurd, I'm putting Reed Flair wrestling.
Yeah. I would
because he's 12 years old.
Yeah, Reed and the backyard, humping that Smiley basically did to those children.
I think that's illegal in every state.
Pretty sure that would be sodomy in about 50 states. So
yeah. What was good, Logan? I'm gonna say Terry Funk and Candido match.
Yeah, I would say that was probably our first good hardcore match. So I would definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. What was bad? Just nothing happened.
Kim.
We'll say, Kimberly. Yeah, just Kim.
Kim, awesome. That whole segment.
Yeah. Yeah. So we only had 6 matches tonight. So obviously Vince Russo was not thanking. 1 clean finish, guys. 5 non-clean or non-finishes. 0 pole matches tonight. I was lied about this pole match thing. We might have to drop this soon, Logan.
No, we're gonna keep it going just for the gimmick.
Oh yeah, we are. Okay. So it's 5 pole matches total. We had 3 gimmick matches tonight, which brings us up to 152 gimmick matches.
Mm-hmm. So we have to. It does at least like gimmick matches. So
the man loves.
Yeah. May not necessarily be pole matches, but they're definitely a lot of gimmicks going on.
Yes. 1 guitar shot tonight. We're up to 44, Logan. We've had 47 episodes.
Oh my God.
32 different things happened, and it's that's kind of low. We had 48, which was the record that was set on Monday, and we dropped down to 32 tonight. We're up to 57 title changes. We're still averaging over one title change an episode, even though it doesn't happen, but just so many have happened.
Yeah.
Because the tag titles changed tonight. But before we get out of here, we're definitely smarter than Vince Russo's WCW.
Oh yeah. And I think this one maybe felt as chaotic as the ones where a lot of stuff happens, but a lot of stuff happened within the stuff tonight, and they let the segments drag out a little bit tonight as well. because like that Russo Flair segment at the beginning was long. Kim and Awesome were in there for a long time, so they let stuff percolate a little bit more. And like I said, a lot of stuff kind of happens within some other stuff. So it's not that stuff isn't happening, but it just uh, it doesn't really change segments per se. It's just kind of all the same thing. Because you could even like say the first match was like 4 different segments because it's kind of like they wrestle in the arena, then they cut to the commentary table, then they cut back to the car, then they cut back to the arena, then they cut back to the barn and all that kind of stuff. So you could get a little bit more semantic with it. But yeah, Russo definitely very dumb tonight. So I would say we could master him in this one.
Yeah, but that brings an end to another episode. You'll see us in 2 weeks for Goldberg's much hyped return versus Tank Abbott, which I'm sure Tank Abbott will do the job in about 10 seconds. Because he just got bitched out tonight before he's supposed to have the match, which is like, Jesus Christ, what makes me not even want to watch the fucking match now if Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner can whoop his ass. And we see a cage match between Russo and Ric Flair, which everyone's clamoring for. But yeah, that brings it in. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks again for listening. Thank you, Logan, for hanging in there with me tonight. Despite being sick, be positive, everyone.
Bye.